You're listening to part 2 of a Barefoot Lawyer Reports on China interview with Eric Lai. To listen to the other parts of this episode, please check the links in the description.
So, maybe you could say a word about the what's happening with religious freedom in Hong Kong.
Well, this is a very this is a very controversial topic when I talk about religious freedom. There are many NGOs paying attention to whether the national security law has a direct impact on different religious organizations in Hong Kong, whether they have impacted the rights to worship or the rights to organize religious activities independent of the government control. And in the past 3.5 years, there are many signs of self-censorship of churches, including the Catholic Church, Christian churches, because they are under a highly surveillance environment in Hong Kong. So at this stage, the government had not extended its hands directly on religions in Hong Kong because most of the religions are implementing self-censorship. And we need to make sense of why self-censorship becomes so prominent among religions, because on one hand, many religious organizations or Christian churches in Hong Kong are benefited from a deal with government even since colonial times. They are allowed to run public schools, to run hospitals, to provide social services with government licensing or with the government's approval. They could also enjoy a privilege to evangelize with government facilitation. But on the other hand, the churches in Hong Kong, Christian churches, the Catholic dioceses in Hong Kong, have been vocal for human rights and democratic developments in Hong Kong. So these are the dilemmas for the churches to face, whether they should remain vocal and speak prophetically on the current affairs in Hong Kong, or they may lose all these privileges or these opportunities to continue their evangelical work.
So, given the current situation, how things have evolved over, let's say, the last, let's say, since 2015 to now, do you what is the future? I mean, nobody knows, but is the grip against, or the pressure against democracy and Western values really increasing, or you think we've reached some kind of stopping point where there's a kind of a balance of and that there'll be restricted freedom, but that freedom will continue? Do you have any thoughts on that?
There were some hopes or optimism last year when the government almost commenced all the political trials against famous figures like Jimmy Lai or Chow Han Tong, or the pro-democracy activists engaging in the primary elections. Some people in Hong Kong would say it seems the government has already caught all the enemies of the state that they wanted. But if we take reference to the recent development, it seems these hardline policies against human rights defenders, against civil liberties in Hong Kong would continue and would be much harsher, because just a few weeks ago, the Hong Kong government and the legislature passed a new national security law under Article 23 of the Basic Law. This new 2024 national security law further expand many fake legal terms like national security, state secrets, and even foreign interference to try to catch as many foreign organizations as espionage organizations or as external forces making troubles in Hong Kong. So it seems the government want to expand its autocratic rule through legislating new laws and new decrees, and it seems there is an incentive for the government to become more hardline if we take a look of what has been happening in mainland China last year, even after the white paper movement, the government became much more draconian and extended its control in society. And Xi Jinping further centralized its power in the past year, making very clear that political security, party security, prevails any economic development or economic concerns.
Look, Eric, Dr. Lai, thanks for speaking with us. I think anybody listening who's not following this closely, you can see what a serious threat it is to democracy. And in my view, it just is an illustration of the vision that the Chinese Communist Party would like to extend throughout, not only throughout Asia, but beyond that. And it has its view of democracy is quite different from ours. So the fate of Hong Kong should be very important for any American listening to this, because it's a question of what happens to essentially, as Eric says, a society with liberal values when it comes in contact with this regime. And that includes our own, as we've talked about in previous podcasts. There are things that the CCP has done in the United States to undermine our democracy as well. So there should be a great solidarity, I think, between people in the West and people in Hong Kong. Again, if we believe in human rights and religious freedom and the rule of law, we need to support it wherever it is. So, Eric, do you have any final thoughts?
Yes, I think it's important to for everyone, including our friends in America, and even religious leaders in America, to continue to pay attention to the developments in Hong Kong. As I said, seems now religious organizations in Hong Kong, the Catholic Church, Christian churches, are trying to protect themselves by self-censorship. But the new national security law, which we call Article 23 legislation, has further expanded the ideas of external forces. Not only foreign governments would be targeted as foreign interference, but NGOs, including foreign religious organizations, Christian denominations abroad, and even the Vatican are technically be seen as external forces. And during the whole consultation of this legislation, the government accused the foreign NGOs, human rights organizations, as troublemakers in Hong Kong, and to try to initiate color revolution in Hong Kong. Such language was widely adopted in the mainland China in the past, and now they are bringing this mentality to govern Hong Kong right now. So it's important for everyone who concerns Hong Kong and human rights and religious freedom not to forget Hong Kong, or not to abandon Hong Kong. And after all, as you said, Will, Hong Kong is a showcase of how a liberal city could fall into autocratic rule so easily. And it is an important lesson for everyone who also concerned the rise of China in many Western counterparts, as well as in many developing countries.
Well, Dr. Lai, thank you very much for speaking with us. And as just to mention for the listeners, we have actually an essay contest for students, which talks about writing about a human rights issue in China. And this could be one of them. If you go to our website, which is catholic.edu/CHR for Center for Human Rights, you can find out more there. Also, you can sign up for the Barefoot Lawyer podcast, and we invite you to share this podcast with your friends and associates, where you'll learn more about what is happening on human rights in China, how that affects the rest of the world, Hong Kong, the United States, liberal democracies. And you'll meet a lot of great people like Dr. Lai, and including you'll get many chances to hear from Chen Guangcheng himself. So again, Eric, thank you very much for being with us. And I invite you all back to the next Barefoot Lawyer Reports podcast.
Thank you.
The Barefoot Lawyer Reports on China is currently sponsoring an essay contest for students of all ages. This year's prompt asks writers to describe a human rights issue in communist China that they think deserves more attention, what current efforts are addressing it, and what can be done in the future to resolve it. To learn more about this contest, please go to catholic.edu/chr and visit our Human Rights Essay Contest page.